Nah, we ain't gonna let that beat drop again on you. We ain't gonna let that beat drop again on you. Shout out to everybody joining me this morning. My name's CJ. Thank you so much for being here. On today's live stream, we've got just two NBA games to talk about, but they're very good NBA games. We got the Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, obviously James Harden versus Joel Embiid, James Harden and Joel Embiid versus Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. My goodness. Golden State Warriors and Denver Nuggets is the late game. So two very good games. Just two, but they're both very good. And I'm looking forward to both of them. And then, of course, the later game, Golden State Warriors and Denver Nuggets. We got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, if you want to throw him in there. And, of course, Nikola Jokic on the other side. Always fun to watch the big man Joker play. So definitely smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. Listen, we're shooting for two things today. 200 likes on today's live stream. 200 likes on today's live stream. And if we get to 5,400 subscribers, I'm going to give away 3 free entries over on PrizePicks to win $100. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you get subscribed. If you have not hit the like button on today's video, go ahead and hit the like button as well. 200 likes plus 5,400 subscribers, and I'm going to give away 3 free entries to win $100. Okay. Let's get the job done, gang. Appreciate everybody. Yesterday, we did break 200 likes on yesterday's live stream. So shout out to the gang. Shout out to everybody who's watching live and who watched the replay. We ended up getting the job done. And I'm looking forward to getting it done once again today. So let's run through the chat real quick and see what you guys have been talking about so far. We got Hunter in here. He says, this week of basketball has been a whole lot of garbage. It's definitely been kind of shaky, right? Kind of volatile, up and down. At least from my perspective, my point of view, it hasn't been the smoothest week yet. But still got today and tomorrow, and we can get right for the week. King Chris 20 says, "Hey, 2-game slate, both games looking decent too. Let's get it." Ty says, "What's up, man? Small day, but big pay today." I love that energy. Moody Clip says he cleared last night. Good for you. Good for you. Love to hear it. Punchline. Good morning, everyone. Good morning back to you, Mr. Punchline. What's good? Drew Brees. You flex, I flex back, man. What's up with you? Frank Kutcher. Thank you so much for being here this morning and for subscribing. I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and getting us closer. We need like 15 subscribers to hit 5,400. Maybe it's 14 now that Frank subscribed. But if we get to that 5,400 mark, man, I'm more than willing to run a giveaway for tomorrow. We'll call it Free Entry Friday. I gave away 10 free entries last Friday to Patreon members. They were 2-pick entries to win $100. So pretty sweet. Hopefully we can run that back. Everyday Fantasy says, good morning, everybody. PrizePicks is on their job. Maxie's assist has already went up from 3 to 3.5. Let me see that. Let me see. Oh, yeah, he's right. He's right. It went up from 3 to 3.5. So, yeah, line's already moving. Aaron Rodgers says, yerp. Yerp. Drew Brees, the same way we're able to look at how many points a team is giving up. Is there a way to look up how much an individual player is giving up on these websites? That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I don't have the answer to that. I guess what you're asking is like Andre Drummond. How many points does he give up as a player to opposing centers like Joel Embiid, for instance? That could be an interesting, more detailed or granular view of how to research your player props, but I do not know off the top of my head if that is such a thing or not. Let's see. Who else we got in here today? King United says, leave a like on the video if you had as many fourth quarter minutes as Wendell Carter Jr. last night. I don't know what happened. Maybe the Magic are just in tank mode, but they ended up winning, right? So, I don't know. Yeah, that was weird. Mark H says, somebody tell Time Lord, a.k.a. Robert Williams, the third of the Boston Celtics, that I want my money. Yeah, his first half fantasy points have been a thing of goodness, but last night, not so good. Not so good. Moody Clip says, we're here to all eat. Let's help each other out. We definitely will. Kyle, yo, what's up? CJ, let's get another solid board today, bro. Need a bounce back right here. Smash that like button, people. Thank you so much for reminding the folks to do so. Kyle, appreciate you. Rashawn says, what's popping on Thankful Thursday? I like that, man. Yeah, what are you thankful for, Rashawn? I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm thankful for all of you guys and the tremendous outpouring of support that you guys have given me, kind of rallied around me, rallied around this channel, this community. And man, I'm always forever humbled and grateful for that. So thank you. Trevor says Kent State -6.5 looks really good by all metrics. Love you leaving that, Trevor. Jojo Rabbit, good morning to you. Who else we got in here today? We got Jeremy Lanoy. I haven't done well in 3 straight days. Yeah, it's been kind of, like I said, just kind of up and down, rocky. I might have to start flexing some of these 2-pick entries. I've been going a lot of 1 out of 2s, and I don't like going 1 out of 2. So I might have to start flexing some of these entries until things kind of smooth out a little bit. Ronald's Green, what's up to you? Kings is in the building. I see Embiid having a good first half. Well, Embiid's always in play. Definitely against Andre Drummond and the Brooklyn Nets. Chris Stevens, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Definitely looking forward to today's 2-gamer, man. 2-gamer. Isaiah's in the building. Top of the morning to you, Isaiah. Jimmy C says, good morning, CJ. Harden over 10.5 assists. That's your favorite play, Jimmy C? Jimmy C? All right. We'll check it out. Hector says, what's up, Curry? Loving the Patreon. I appreciate you being a part of the community this month, my friend. Thank you for the support. Hopefully, we see you around for many, many more months in the future. Ari says, good morning, y'all. Good morning back to you, Mr. Ari. Thomas Walsh, Curry sleeping in. Which Curry, me or the man Steph Curry? Or Seth Curry. Seth Curry plays today, too. We got 3 Currys. Me, Seth, and Steph. Mr. Frozen Tundra, good morning to you. Thanks for being here. Mamado Sal says, good morning. A-Dub, the prop killer. Today is payday. Love that energy. Caleb, good morning. CJ, let's get the bag today. Thank you so much, Mr. Caleb, for being here. Chris B's in the building. Shout out to you, Chris B. Lost big last night. You know, it's going to happen, man. There's going to be ups and downs. Right now, it's kind of a rocky road that we're going down. Rocky road, but listen, we gotta get it right. I think we will. So with there being just 2 games today, 2 games, 4 teams, I think we could pretty much run through dang near everybody on the board. So let's get started here by talking about today's matchups here. We got 2 games. They start at 7:30. Brooklyn Nets, Philadelphia 76ers. Wow, must-see TV. I think we've all kind of been anticipating this matchup. We want to see James Harden, now a Philadelphia 76er, going up against his former team in the Brooklyn Nets, his former teammates in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And I want to see Joel Embiid going up against his former teammate, Andre Drummond. Will he get the best of Andre Drummond? Surprisingly, these guys, Drummond and Embiid, have not faced each other since 2019. It's been a while. So that'll be an interesting little dynamic between the 2 bigs in this game as well. Looking at the injury news, though, we got Joe Harris, obviously, is still out. Ben Simmons out. LaMarcus Aldridge also out. Over on the Philadelphia side, Springer and Green both out. So it's going to be James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid for Philadelphia. And then on the Brooklyn side, Kyrie Irving, Seth Curry, former Philadelphia 76er. A little bit of revenge narrative for him, too. Bruce Brown, Kevin Durant, and Andre Drummond for the Brooklyn Nets. So pretty good score here, 234.5. The total's looking nice. And hopefully it does stay truly close and competitive for 4 quarters. Because as a fan of basketball, I'm just looking forward to seeing this personally. And then 10 p.m. The late night game, the Golden State Warriors at the Denver Nuggets. These teams just met not that long ago. 228.5 points between these 2 teams, 1.5 point spread. Now, when these teams last met, a whole lot of players sat out for Golden State. So we didn't have Curry, we didn't have Clay, we didn't have Andrew Wiggins. It was pretty much just Kevon Looney. He was the only starter who faced this Denver Nuggets team when they last met. So James Wiseman, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, Gary Payton II, and Otto Porter Jr. all ruled out for this game. Over on the flip side, the Denver Nuggets, keep an eye on both Jeff Green and Will Barton. Both of those guys are game time decisions. Obviously, Will Barton would be a very impactful piece of injury news. Denver coming off of a back-to-back, by the way. So that's also worth considering. But anyway, two very fun games. It looks like both of them are going to be fairly high scoring. Both of them are going to be fairly competitive. So once again, if you're just getting here, I am going to give away three entries on PrizePicks, free to you, to win $100 if we hit our subscriber goal, 5,400 subscribers, and if we hit our like goal of 200 subscribers. I'm going to keep reminding you throughout the stream today, you got to smash the like button if you're watching, whether it be live, whether it be the replay. If we hit 200 likes and 5,400 subscribers, I'm giving away 3 free entries to win $100 tomorrow. Speaking of subscribers, shout out to Jodeni Javier for subscribing. Fried Chicken 72 just subscribed, and Austin Sarmiento, hope I got that right, thank you for subscribing as well. We're getting closer and closer, gang, to the 5,400 subscriber mark. All right, let's go ahead and pull up props.cash here. We're going to be looking at the trends page. Let's look at the last 10 games like we do. If you've never used props.cash before and you want to try it out, go down to the description of this video. Use promo code Curry to get 25% off your first month of props.cash. And if you don't play on PrizePicks, 100% instant deposit match still going on for you guys who are new to PrizePicks. Again, use promo code Curry to take advantage of that dollar for dollar match that PrizePicks has got going on. So let's go ahead and get down to business here, man. Like I said, just a 2-game slate. We could pretty much buzz through a lot of these points props, but just looking at the guys who have been getting the job done over the last 10 games, Seth Curry, he's up at 11.5 points on PrizePicks. Over the last couple of games, his scoring has started to go down with Kyrie, KD back in the lineup. They're really eating up a lot of the usage. So Seth Curry, his scoring has started to drop off a little bit. But let's go ahead and get Seth Curry pulled up here because he is one of the higher hit rate guys. So you see what he's been doing in the last 3 games, 8, 8, and 9. 3 games in a row where he's went below 11.5 points. So that's kind of discouraging when you look at it. Seth Curry, his role has just changed dramatically. Now, right now, that looks like the public is taking the over on Seth Curry. He's been averaging in the last 10, 15 points per game. You look at just the last 5, which to me is the more reasonable sample size to look at. He's been getting about 15 points per game. So that's kind of the rundown on Seth Curry. In terms of matchup, Philadelphia's defense, pretty tough. And, Seth Curry's role just not really going to be that scoring guy, or hasn't been that scoring guy in the last 3 games. We look at the shooting guard and point guard matchups here. We got Seth Curry going up against his former team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly giving up about 22 to 23 points per game to shooting guards. I'm also going to look at the point guard position because him, Kyrie, they're both kind of combo guards if you ask me. And we look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they're giving up about 23 points to point guards as well. So point guard, shooting guards, both in very good spots here against this Philadelphia 76ers defense. So maybe Seth Curry takes a couple of extra shots against his former team, gets a few more shots up, and looks to be more aggressive from the scoring standpoint. But let's go ahead and get you a projection on his points. I do have Seth Curry projected for 14.8 points. Which is slightly higher than the 11.5 that he's at today. Well, slightly higher by 3.3 points higher. And you can see across the board here, he's at 10.5 on 2 sites, 11.5 on a couple of other sites. So PrizePicks actually has the higher number up here for Seth Curry at 11.5. It's a little concerning that we're seeing him at 10.5 because it means that those lines makers think that 10 to 11 points in that range is more doable versus the 11 to 12 when he's at 11.5 points. So it's a little bit concerning that we're seeing him at 10.5 points on some of these sites. But nonetheless, that's kind of the rundown for Seth Curry. Like I said, his scoring in the last 3 games, not the greatest. 8, 8, and 9. So, if you don't want to take an over on Seth Curry, maybe you end up going under. Anyway, looking at some other players here, Kyrie Irving obviously had himself a monster game in the last game that he played against the Charlotte Hornets. The same could not be said for Kevin Durant. As we know, most of you know, Kevin Durant ended up tweeting something out after that game and said, something along the lines of basically, it sucks when your parlays don't hit. And this is for all the people who have bashed me throughout my career, yada, yada, yada. Anyway. Kevin Durant didn't make any fans after that last game against the Charlotte Hornets. But I digress. Kyrie Irving tonight at 24.5 points has hit this prop in 70% of his last 10 games. So let's pull Kyrie Irving up here. Like I said, very small, short board here. We're going to be able to talk about most of these props. Kyrie Irving, 50 points against the Charlotte Hornets. So Kevin Durant said, listen, I'm giving the keys to you, Kyrie. You drive tonight. And you go ahead and be the scoring focus for our Brooklyn Nets team. So Kevin Durant took the back seat, let Kyrie Irving drive. I have a feeling that Kevin Durant isn't going to be able to do that tonight. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to be able to coast or take his foot off the gas in any kind of way tonight. I think we're going to have an aggressive Kevin Durant. We'll talk about him in just a minute, though. Kyrie Irving, you could see 70% hit rate in the last 10 games for the season, averaging 26.2 points, 28.1 in the last 10, and things really looking good in the last 5. Most of this is because of this 50-point outburst he had against the Charlotte Hornets. So we move down and look at this matchup. We already kind of looked at it a little bit with Seth Curry. Philadelphia pretty tough across the board here, but they are undergoing changes. Obviously, this trade with Brooklyn shook things up for Philly, so we're not quite sure what their identity is yet on defense with the likes of James Harden, Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt, but I'm not really afraid or scared of anybody in that backcourt. You know, James Harden's defense is non-existent. He's not really a defender. Never has been. He's been more of a Matador-style defender. You know, pull out that little red flag, and then he that's what I mean by Matador. I don't know if you guys know what Matadors are. Anyway, looking at the DVP once again, we've already talked about it. The Philadelphia 76ers giving up about 22 to 23 points per game to both point guards and shooting guards. So about 23 to point guards, and then again, just giving you another look at it, shooting guards are getting about 23 points per game as well. So Kyrie Irving in a pretty decent matchup. Like I said, it's not an overly difficult matchup against the likes of Harden and Maxey in the backcourt. So pulling up a projection for Kyrie Irving, we got him projected for 25 points according to the action projection tools provided by Fantasy Labs. You can see where the betting public's head is at on this prop at 24.5 points on 2 out of 3 books. We're actually seeing some people bet the over, we're seeing some people bet the under, and then some people not touching this prop over on a site like FanDuel. But at PointsBet, they've got him at 25.5 points, which is a point higher than where he's at on PrizePicks. So 24.5 on PrizePicks, 25.5 on PointsBet. So the lines makers over at PointsBet must feel like Kyrie Irving has a shot at 25 to 26 points. So we are getting 1 point of value here over on PrizePicks. So looking at some of these other props here, Matisse Thybulle at 5.5 points, probably not at the top of everybody's list of players that they want to play, but we could take a look at Matisse Thybulle, being that it's a short slate and we've got time for it. Let's pull Thybulle up and see what he's been doing from a scoring standpoint over the last 10 and last 5 games. Over the last 10 games, averaging 5.8 points per game, which is exactly what his season averages, is at 5.8. And then we look at the last 5 games, he's averaging 6 points per game. And against the Brooklyn Nets this season, averaging 6 points per game as well. Now, he's played Brooklyn 3 times. He's covered in 2, went under in 1. So about a 67% hit rate for Matisse Thybulle. Interesting player. Some days he scores 0, like he did against Cleveland, Miami, Milwaukee. He scored 1 against Boston. Some days he goes for 11, 10, or as many as 12 points like he did against Chicago. Like I said, he's probably not at the top of your list as far as favorite guys to take in a points prop. But we're looking at the Brooklyn defense here. They do give up the 22nd most points allowed, 14th in field goal percentage, 16th in three-pointers allowed, total three-pointers allowed, 19th in free throws allowed, and 25th against opposing shooting guards. So matchup-wise, things looking pretty good against this Brooklyn Nets defense. We're going to go and take a look at the DVP, see how many points Brooklyn's given up to shooting guards over the last 7 games. Brooklyn Nets giving up 23.6. That's a pretty healthy amount. That puts them right around the top 10 most giving to shooting guards. Let's also look at the small forward position. They're giving up over 31 points per game to opposing small forwards. So I know Matisse Thybulle isn't, again, at the top of your list in terms of somebody you want to take for a points prop, but he has covered against Brooklyn in 2 out of 3 games. He does get very favorable matchups when you look at how many points Brooklyn's given up to both shooting guards and small forwards. So maybe you take a flyer on Matisse Thybulle at 5.5 points and you slap the over. Let's take a look at the projections for Thybulle. 6.5 projected points. The betting public is liking this prop as well. Not that they're always right. We know the betting public can be wrong and has been wrong in the past. But you see what the betting public's thinking about Matisse Thybulle today. They are taking the over on every site where he's available at 5.5 points, which is exactly where we're getting him here on PrizePicks. So again, not the sexiest name on the board today. No, he's not Kevin Durant. No, he's not Joel Embiid. No, he's not Kyrie Irving or James Harden. But he could be a sleeper pick, okay? We'll leave it at that. He could be a sleeper pick from this game. Going back here and taking a look at some of these other guys, Steph Curry getting into that Golden State Denver Nuggets game. He was a taco the other night. If you guys are familiar with what I'm talking about, PrizePicks had him at a discounted rate instead of his normal point prop. He was discounted, but the discount didn't help him or Kevin Durant. Steph Curry did not end up hitting his points prop the other night at 22.5 or 21.5 against the Los Angeles Clippers, despite a really good matchup. Just wasn't interested in shooting, wasn't interested in scoring for whatever reason. So maybe Steph Curry didn't like being a taco, okay? Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, maybe they don't like tacos. They got something against tacos. Anyway, Steph Curry against the Denver Nuggets tonight. I think this is setting up to be a pretty good matchup. Let's pull it up, though. We'll dig into it together. Again, we got Steph Curry, Seth Curry, and you got CJ Curry all on the PrizePicks board today. It's a whole lot of Curry, gang. Whole lot of Curry. Boom. There's some Denver Nuggets props popping up as we speak. Over the last 10 games, Steph Curry averaging 26.2 points per game. Last 5 games, he's averaging 25.4. Against Denver this season, he's covered in 1 game and went under in another. So he covered in the most recent game, February 16th. He went under back on December 28th. He's averaging about 24 points per game. 24 points per game versus Denver in 2 matchups this season. We could even go back to last season if you want. He was a monster against Denver in 3 matchups last season. 35, 53, and 32. So over his last 5 meetings against this Denver Nuggets team, 4 for 5, or 80%. But again, last season was last season. This season has been, I don't know, man. Hard to trust Steph Curry. Is that fair to say, gang? It's been kind of hard to trust Steph Curry this season for whatever reason. His numbers seem like they're a little bit down. And again, the Denver defense, we've talked about it already a little bit. They rank 12th in points allowed, 22nd in field goal percentage allowed, 10th in three-pointers allowed, 6th in three-point field goal percentage allowed, 11th in free throws allowed, and just 22nd against opposing point guards. So the matchup for Curry looking pretty nice, Let's take a closer look at it. We'll go to the point guard position. We'll go see how many points Denver's given up to opposing point guards. Well, gang, they're giving up over 28 points per game in the last 7 games. So when we take a look at that, that is the 6th most. A very good matchup on paper for Steph Curry here against the Denver Nuggets. Over 28 points allowed to point guards by Denver. So let's get you a projection here using the action projection tools. We've got Steph Curry here at, let's see. Just had it up. There we go. 29.8 points. So nearly 30 points. So the models, the projections, really liking some Steph Curry over 24.5 points. Of course, cross-reference this projection with some of the free sites out there. You got RotoWire. You got Betting Pros. You've got NumberFire. 3 different sites out there that might have different projections than what you're seeing here. But 29.8 looks like a very healthy over versus where we're seeing him at just 24.5. So the matchup's looking good. The projections are looking good. Historically, over the last 5 games, he's covered in 4 out of 5 versus the Denver Nuggets. There's a lot going right here for Steph Curry. Plus, he's coming off of a bit of a bad game. Do we think he has 2 really bad games in a row? You know, he's a great player. I know he's having a down season, but he's still a great player, right? So there you go. A little bit about Steph Curry for you to gnaw on. Joel Embiid, what are we going to do with this guy tonight at 31.5 points? 31.5 points. What are we going to do with Embiid tonight? He's facing off against Andre Drummond. Again, they have not faced each other since 2019 when Andre Drummond was a member of the Detroit Pistons. Now, since 2019, Andre Drummond's been with the Lakers, the Cavaliers, the Philadelphia 76ers. Now he's on his 4th team, the Brooklyn Nets. So there's no telling how this is going to shake out. Now, I will say this. I think over the course of his career, Andre Drummond's kind of been a bit of a foul-prone big man, a guy who is known for getting into some foul trouble. And we know Joel Embiid is a high-pressure offensive player, meaning he's going to get a lot of touches. He is going to force his will, impose his will on a guy like Andre Drummond. So I could see a situation where Andre Drummond might get into some foul trouble early. So if you're not liking Joel Embiid's points, maybe you take a look at his free throw makes. Could be another option for you. But let's talk about Joel Embiid since we're talking points at this moment. 31.5 points, just a 50% hit rate. It is a pretty high number. Not going front. 31.5 points is a big number, but Joel Embiid, the best scoring big man in the NBA. If anybody can get it done, it's going to be him. Looking at the last 10 games for Embiid, 29.7 for the season, 31.1 over the last 10, 30.2 in the last 5. So those averages starting to dip a little bit. And then against Brooklyn this season, he has covered in 2 out of 3 games at 31.5. They met back on December 16th. He had 32. They met on December 30th where he had 34. The only game that he really played bad was this one back on October 22nd. But I think Embiid started off the season kind of slow or injured or something along those lines. So I'm really not too concerned about that one game. So basically the 2 most recent games he's covered in both of those with 32 and 34. So it's probably going to be a sweat. He hasn't put up like a 40 or 50 point game against the Brooklyn Nets. We could even go back to last season. Again, last season is last season, but you kind of see what he did there. Covered in 2 out of 3 games. So he hasn't topped like 40 plus points against Brooklyn in the last 6 meetings. But 30 points definitely doable for Joel Embiid. So looking at this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets currently ranked 12th against opposing centers. Like I said, I think Andre Drummond's just one of those big guys who could find himself in foul trouble. Now, if Andre Drummond does pick up 2 quick fouls, let's say early on in the first quarter or first half, I don't know who they're going to put on Joel Embiid. Who's going to slow him down? Nick Claxton? Is he active? Is he playing? I mean, Blake Griffin? Like they'll be in real big trouble if Andre Drummond finds himself in some foul trouble. Let's go look at the center position. We're going to go look at the last 7 games and see how many points per game Brooklyn's given up to opposing centers. We scrolled down quite a ways here, and surprisingly, Brooklyn given up under 20 points per game to centers in the last 7 games. That is the 5th fewest. 5th fewest in the last 7 games. So surprisingly, Brooklyn doing a pretty good job against opposing centers. But like I said, Embiid's the type of talent. He can overcome what looks like a difficult matchup on paper. Let's get you a projection on Embiid. He's at 33.1 points today. At 31.5 across the board, we're seeing a lot of action both ways. We're seeing some overs on some sites. We're seeing the public bet the under on some of these other sites. And then some people aren't even touching this prop. They're not taking it over or under. So what are you guys thinking about Joel Embiid? I think, he's going to probably be in play tonight. Are you considering the over on his points or under? Like, what's your initial gut reaction? Obviously, this shouldn't be the end all be all, in terms of research. You always want to dig a little bit further, but just from what you've seen, what you know right now, are you thinking Embiid over on 31.5 points or under? Maybe he's just a fade for you, but it's definitely something worth considering. Now, Isaac brings up a good point. He says that Joel Embiid has dominated Andre Drummond in the past. Now we could use a site like StatMuse to help us research that statement a little bit further. So we can go Joel Embiid versus Andre Drummond game logs. And then we could take a look and see what Andre Drummond and Joel Embiid, or what Joel Embiid has done against Andre Drummond throughout their career. Now, this spans back to 2017, gang. So we're going back like several years. The most recent matchup is from 2019. So even that was a few years ago. But we kind of take a look at some of these game logs here, going all the way back to 2017, mind you. So a whole lot has changed since then, obviously. But he had 30, 25, 23, 33, 39, 24, and 20. So he's only covered 31.5 points against Andre Drummond 2 times in his career. You say dominate, that he's dominated Andre Drummond. I don't know that he's dominated. Now, it is worth noting that in some of these games, he played like 28 minutes, 25 minutes, 28 minutes. So hopefully he gets more minutes than that tonight. If he gets 34 plus minutes, he's 2 for 2 at going over 31.5 points versus Drummond when he gets 34 or more minutes. So minutes obviously going to be the key here, going to be a big factor. If he's not out on the court, he can't score points. He can't rack up rebounds. He can't get you fantasy points, or however you want to choose Joel Embiid, however you want to play him. He can't do those things. One thing that I will point out to you that actually has a little bit of a higher hit rate than his points historically against Andre Drummond. If you go to the FTM, the free throw makes, 11 for 12 back on 2017. 11 for 12 from the free throw line. 11 for 14 back in 2018. 18 for 23 back in 2018. And then 11 for 14 from the free throw line back in 2018. So he's actually covered his free throw prop of 10 free throw makes at a higher clip than he has his points prop. Do with that what you will, okay? There you go. That gives you a little bit of a better idea, hopefully, of how Joel Embiid has done against Andre Drummond. There's a lot of other options up on the board. I guess we could talk a little bit about James Harden, and then we'll get into the most controversial play of the day, probably going to be Kevin Durant, right? But let's talk about James Harden real quick. He's been playing very good basketball since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll pull James Harden up now. Appreciate everybody joining me, by the way. Thank you so much for being here. If I have not gotten a chance to say hello to you, hello. So we go James Harden. He's at 25.5 points by default on props.cash, but we're getting him at 24.5 against his former team, the Brooklyn Nets, tonight. So let's dial this down to 24.5, and you can see his hit rates get a little bit better there. A little bit more green pops up on the props.cash charts here. So he's got a 60% hit rate in his last 10 games. More importantly, we want to look more at the last 5 games since he's joined the Philadelphia 76ers. At 24.5 points, he's covered this in 4 out of 5 games and 80% hit rate as a member of the Sixers. He's averaging 24.6 points per game in that 5-game span. The only game that he really laid a turd was this one against the Chicago Bulls. He had just 16 points against the Bulls in that game. So overall, 80% hit rate since playing for the Philadelphia 76ers in his last 5 games. So not bad. And it looks like we might be getting a little bit of value here. But anyway, we already kind of know what the defense situation is. Shooting guard defense for the Brooklyn Nets, 25th against opposing shooting guards. So it's going to be Kyrie Irving and it's going to be Seth Curry. Not really afraid of either one of those guys slowing down James Harden tonight. Got to be honest. And the same could be said about the other side, like I said earlier, about Kyrie Irving. James Harden and Tyrese Maxey, not really afraid of their defense really either. So I think that there could be a lot of points, a lot of places to go in the backcourts for both of these teams. You could attack the backcourts for both of these teams. So let's go ahead and move ahead here and look and see how many points per game that the Brooklyn Nets are surrendering to both point guards and shooting guards. Nets giving up about 23.6, so that's a pretty healthy amount to shooting guards. We go and look at the point guard position. Brooklyn giving up 20.8 to opposing point guards. Still a pretty decent total, though, or decent average at 20.8. Let's get you a projection here on James Harden. He is at 24.5 on some sites, 25.5 on others. At 24.5, the public taking the over. At 25.5, they are taking the under. So between 24.5 and 25.5 lies 25. So maybe that's the right number for James Harden today. If he gets bumped up to 25 today, I would not be surprised. Not surprised one bit. 22.6 is his projection. Again, cross-reference this. This is just one projection model, one site, one resource. Check some of the others out there that I told you about that are all completely free, and see how they kind of compare. But anyway, James Harden, are you guys liking the over or under on Harden's points tonight? Over or under James the Beard Harden's points against his former team? And do you guys think that there's a chance that both James Harden and Joel Embiid hit the over on their points? Or do you think it's just going to be one of those situations where it's one guy or the other, where both don't hit, maybe one does and the other doesn't? For me, I guess I would say that maybe I have a little bit more confidence in James Harden hitting his point prop than I do Joel Embiid. That's just kind of my initial reaction when you see the 24.5 for Harden and the 31.5 for Embiid. I kind of think like maybe Harden's got the easier path going up against Kyrie and Seth Curry. I don't know. That's just kind of way I'm looking at things. And now finally, the man of the hour, Kevin Durant, 28.5 points. What are we going to do with Kevin Durant? What are we going to do with Kevin Durant tonight? That's been the question. That's been the debate inside of Discord this morning. Let's pull Kevin Durant up here and see if we can do a little deep dive on what he's been up to. So by default, he's at 29.5 over on Props.Cash. We got to bump him down to 28.5. You see over the last 10 games, 40% hit rate. Not the greatest hit rates in the world. He's coming off of a 14-point game against the Charlotte Hornets. Let's take a look at the last 5 here, because at 28.5 in the last 5, he's got just a 40% hit rate. Obviously, this is KD. Obviously, he's still one of the best scorers on planet Earth. He can drop 31, 37 like he did against Miami, like he did against Boston. He seems to rise to the occasion over the last 5 games against quality teams, quality opponents. 27 against Chicago. No, that wasn't enough to cover 28.5, but Chicago, a potential threat in the East, right? New Orleans, no threat. Not really worried about them. Seems like he took the night off. Miami, a potential threat, a good team in the East. They got some dogs on that team. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo and company, Kyle Lowry. He got up. He raised up for the occasion on that one. Same thing against Boston. Jason Tatum, right? Jaylen Brown, a potential threat in the Eastern Conference. He stepped up to the challenge and rose to the occasion with 37 points. Charlotte, not really a threat. Not really a threat. Not a team he gets up for. Now we take a look at what he's done against Philadelphia, gang. This season against the Sixers, he's gotten up against Philadelphia. 29 against Philly back on October 22nd. 34 against Philly back on December 16th, and 33 against Philadelphia on December 30th. I do not think that Kevin Durant will have the luxury tonight of taking his foot off the gas and being a backseat driver. He's going to have to take the wheel, in other words. He seems, again, to rise to the occasion against the Philadelphia 76ers and against other teams in the Eastern Conference who are formidable foes, like Miami, like Boston, like Chicago. I know you guys are probably still sore from Kevin Durant the other night, selling us on the taco. But we do have to have short-term memories. I don't think Kevin Durant, again, will have the luxury of just taking his foot off the gas. I just don't think he can. There's no way that he does that tonight against James Harden, Joel Embiid. I just don't think he can do it. Anyway, looking at the matchups here, it's pretty much red across the board for KD. I'm not worried about it, though. KD is KD, right? Philadelphia does rank 30th, dead last against opposing small forwards. All right, this is going to be the most controversial guy of the day. What do we do with Kevin Durant? What do we do with KD? That is the good question, you know. Philadelphia over the last 7 games against opposing small forwards is giving up the 4th most points at 25.2. So they're already giving up a huge average when it comes to points per game to small forwards. Now you got one of the best scorers in the game in the world coming to town at 28.5 points. Looking at power forwards against the Philadelphia 76ers. Because KD kind of slots in at that 4 spot. They're a lot more stingy against power forwards, giving up about 17 to 18 points per game, which is the 4th fewest. But again, this is Kevin Durant. Forget the DVP. Don't worry too much about that. As far as the projection models go, he is projected for 30.7 points. Nearly 31 points. So they have him going over 28.5. We're seeing him on 4 different sites at 2 different numbers. 28.5 on 3 out of 4. Not 28.5. That's where he's at on PrizePicks. At 28.5, the public smashed the hell out of the over. Minus 135 and minus 145. But at 29.5, guess what? They're still taking the over. 29.5, they're still taking the over. Over on a site like FanDuel. So at 28.5 and 29.5, the public is smashing the over on Kevin Durant. All right, guys. What are we doing with Kevin Durant? What are we doing with Kevin Durant? We taking the over or are we taking the under on Kevin Durant points? I want to see what you guys are thinking. Thumbs up or thumbs down. I just can't see a situation where Kevin Durant could come out there and have 14 points. 15 points. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's take an even closer look. Kevin Durant points versus Sixers logs. We're getting in our bag today. That is not Kevin Durant. That is Clint Capella. How the hell did that happen? Kevin Durant points versus Sixers logs. Let's try that again. That was weird. So Kevin Durant at 28.5 points. Over. He's covered against the Sixers in 4 straight games. We go back even further. He's got another cover here, 29. But I mean, since joining the Brooklyn Nets, like we talked about before, man, he's 3 for 3 against the Philadelphia 76ers. So you guys do with that what you will. Like I said, I just don't think Kevin Durant is going to come out there and poop the bed again. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some assists. I know a lot of people are asking about James Harden's assists. Before we get into the assists, guys, you can assist me by hitting the like button. Like I said, if we get 200 likes and we reach our goal of 5,400 subscribers, tomorrow will be free entry Friday to all of you. Meaning I'll give away 3 free entries on PrizePicks to win $100. We'll do that giveaway inside of Discord. So if you're not in my Discord yet, there's a link down in the description of this video. Go ahead and join the Discord if you have not yet. Chris Smith leaving a super chat. He says he hit $1,500 last night on PrizePicks. Keep up the work. Let's get the bag tonight. Love to hear it, man. You're on a heater. You've been doing very, very well. Shout out to Tristan Williams for subscribing to the channel. Matt Ruther has also subscribed. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. All right. A lot of you guys are asking about James Harden's assists. And for good reason. James Harden has been on an assist tear since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm going to look at the last 5 games because those are the only ones that really matter. Those are all 5 from his time spent with Philadelphia. So we take a look at his prop line at 10.5. Last 5 games, he is averaging 12.4 assists. The only game that he's fallen short was against the New York Knicks on March 2nd. Finished with just 9 assists. So he's gone 4 out of 5. Like I said, averaging over 12 per game. So things looking pretty nice here for James Harden. We go down and look at the Brooklyn defense. They do rank 14th, which is kind of an average matchup. Average team against the assist props. Giving up 24 assists per game this season. So things looking very nice here for James Harden. He's the type of player where he can hit a triple-double and cover all of his props, his points, his assists, and his rebounds. We've seen it happen already since he's joined the Philadelphia 76ers. He's done just that in some of these games. So let's go take a look at Philadelphia and see how Brooklyn. It's going to throw me off. These guys who are now on Philadelphia or now on Brooklyn and they're still in their old jerseys on PrizePicks. It's going to throw me off. Bear with me though. Philadelphia 76ers guard James Harden at 10.5 assists. How many assists are the Brooklyn Nets given up to point guards over the last 7 games? 8.7. So we can round that up, call it 9. Not bad. Not terrible. We go to the shooting guard spot. We look at the assists. Brooklyn giving up 6.8, the first most. So they're giving up a pretty healthy amount of assists to both guard positions, point guard and shooting guard. So not really worried about the matchup. Not looking like a difficult one. I got James Harden projected for 10.3 assists, which puts him right in the same neighborhood as 10.5. And then we're looking at the action here. 2 sites have him at 10.5. The public taking the over, -135 on both books. And then his line is at 11.5 on a site like PointsBet, meaning they think 11 to 12 assists is within reach for Harden. But worth noting, at 11.5 dimes, the public is taking the over. They are betting the over. So there you go. James Harden, a little bit more information. His assists, like I said, have been very good since joining Philadelphia. Kevon Looney at 2.5 assists, not up on the PrizePicks board at the moment, but it's not a name that you would think is hitting at a very high hit rate with his assist prop, but at 2.5 dimes, Kevon Looney, 80% hit rate. Maybe we will see him today on just a 2-game slate. If we do get Kevon Looney at 2.5, consider him an option for an overplay. Kevin Durant, another guy who is at 5 assists today. He could definitely get it done in the points column. He could definitely get it done in the assist column and even the rebound column. He's got triple-double potential is what I'm trying to tell you, all right? At 5.5 assists in the last 10 games, 70% hit rate for him. So let's go take a look at KD. Some of you guys will not want to take Kevin Durant's points. Totally get it. I understand. Last 10 games, if we take this from 5.5 down to 5, you can see his hit rates are now 78% or 7 for 9. So pretty good hit rates. A little more shaky in the last 5 games, even at 5 assists with Kyrie joining the team. Things have kind of fluctuated. The games where Kevin Durant does more scoring, like against Miami, his assists were down that game. Now against Boston, he hit both his points prop and his assist prop. Against Chicago, he fell short in points, but went over on his assists. So there's a little bit of connection or correlation there. Games where he scores higher, his assists tend to be a little bit lower. So something to keep in mind. If you think Kevin Durant has a big scoring night, maybe you're a little bit bearish on his assists, meaning you don't like him as much. Maybe you go under on his assists. Against Philadelphia this season, at 5 assists, he is covered in 2 out of 3 games. So we talked about him covering his points prop in 3 out of 3 games. Well, he's covered his assist prop in 2 out of 3 games. He did fall short in their most recent matchup back on December 30th. We look at Philadelphia. They're giving up the 6th fewest assists allowed at just 23.1 per game to opposing teams. So not the easiest matchup in the world when it comes to assists. Kevin Durant, small forward spot. Philadelphia is giving up 4.8 assists per game to opposing small forwards, which is the 6th most. We'll also take a look at the power forward spot. Philadelphia giving up 5 assists per game to power forwards in the last 7, which is the 3rd most. So as far as assists go, Kevin Durant is actually in a pretty decent spot. He's in a decent spot. Whether he's a small forward or power forward, doesn't matter. He's got a shot to hit at least 5 dimes tonight based on matchup alone. Take a closer look. Kevin Durant is at 5.8 projected assists. According to the action projection tool, we are seeing him at 4.5 on 2 books. Big betting favorite, -165, -160 to go over at 4.5. But at 5.5 on another site, He's a betting favorite to go under at -125. So the public thinks that maybe 5 assists is in Kevin Durant's future tonight. What are you liking the most on Kevin Durant tonight, gang? Are you liking points? Are you liking assists? Or maybe you're liking rebounds? We'll take a look at those in just a bit. So we've talked about some James Harden, some Kevon Looney, and some Kevin Durant. What about Kyrie Irving at 5.5 assists? If you think that Kevin Durant has a big scoring night, maybe Kyrie is a setup guy tonight. Maybe he plays more of the facilitator role, dropping dimes to Kevin Durant. Let's take a look at it. Kyrie's at 5.5. We can see in the last 10 games a 60% hit rate. We're also going to look at the last 5-game view here. He's been floating right around 5 to 6 assists per game. So this is a very tricky number at 5.5. Very tricky number at 5.5. It could literally break either way, but that's true for any prop. But this one could literally be one of those ones where he goes for 5 or 6. I don't know if he's got the 7, 8, 9 assist upside in him. He's usually a 5 to 6 assist guy, at least over the last few games. Now, has he played Philadelphia at all this season? No, he hasn't. We look back to last season. He played them once. It was April 14th. He did have 9 assists versus Philadelphia. Again, that was last season, last April on the 14th. So that was a while ago. We go down here and we take a look at Philadelphia's defense. They rank 6th in assists allowed, 13th against point guards. Take a look at the DVP. Philly against point guards, last 7 games, giving up the fewest assists per game to point guards at 5.2. So that's not encouraging, right? That's kind of discouraging. The toughest team against assists for point guards in the last 7 games. We go find Philadelphia here and take a look at what they've done in the last 7 games against shooting guards, 3.8. So even that number is not very encouraging when it comes to taking an over on Kyrie's assists. For me, I don't know if I love this prop. I don't know if I love this prop for Kyrie. Again, feels like one of those ones where no matter if you take the over or the under, you're going to be sweating your ass off. Okay? He's at 5.5 assists on 3 different sites. He is a betting favorite to go under on 3 out of 3 sites. Pretty big odds too. -145, -150, and -160. He is projected also for 4.7 assists. Taking the over or the under on Kyrie's assists, gang? What do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up or thumbs down on Kyrie's assists tonight? For me, it's probably just going to be a fade. Straight up, I'm probably just going to fade it because I can see a scenario where Kevin Durant's scoring a bunch of points and Kyrie Irving's on the assist end of some of those buckets. So I definitely don't want to take the over. It's just, not the most comfortable prop to take the over or under on. I'm just going to stay away from that one, I think. Other guys here worth considering. We got Joel Embiid. He's at 3 assists tonight. Let's see, do I have that pulled up here? Let's go back. Not you, Clint Capella. Joel Embiid versus Andre Drummond in the assist column. He's hit 3 or more assists in the last 4 games in 3 out of 4 meetings versus Andre Drummond. But he's also got 3 meetings where he's put up 0 assists versus Drummond. So just looking at some of that historical information, Joel Embiid versus Andre Drummond kind of gives you an idea of what maybe could happen, right? So let's pull Embiid up using props.cash. Take a look at what he's been up to over the last 5 games because, those are all games with James Harden in there. Well, most of them. I think maybe he missed 1 game. Harden might have missed 1 game in that game, but in that span. But anyway, Embiid, we knock him down to 3 assists, and you can see what his hit rate's been over the last 5 games. Just 50%. I guess you could call it, 60% at 3 or more in the last 5. He's averaging 4.3 for the season, 4.4 in the last 10, 3.2 in the last 5, and 3.7 against Brooklyn this season. He's covered in 2 out of 3 games versus the Nets, Both of those were from earlier this season, 10-22 and 12-16. He had 4 and 6 assists respectively. So we move on down here, look at the matchup. Again, the Nets giving up the 14th most assists allowed at about 24 per game. We go take a look at the last 7 games and see how many assists that the Brooklyn Nets are giving up to centers in the last 7. We go all the way down. They're giving up about 2.76. We can call it, I don't know, 3 maybe. Maybe 3 assists, 5th fewest. Not the greatest matchup on paper, which is probably why Embiid's sitting at 3 instead of 3.5. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for Embiid. I got him projected for 4.8. That is a bit more than 3. He's at 3.5 on most sports books, so we are getting a half of an assist value, meaning there's a chance we can push, which is nice. If you want to take the over on Embiid, at least you got an opportunity to push at 3. But at 3.5, minus 180, minus 185, and minus 160. Super strong juice on the under at 3.5. Okay. So there you go. Anybody else worth considering for their assist props? A lot of these other guys are hitting at just a very poor rate. 50%, 60%. So unless you guys like them, I won't talk about them, but we can take those questions toward the end of the stream. Dang, we're already an hour in on a 2-game slate. My goodness. Looking at some of these rebound props, we're going to have to speed things up here. James Harden's at 7.5 rebounds. Let's take a look at his last 5 games and see what Harden's been doing as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. Last 5, Harden at 7.5. We got to make sure we dial that in properly here on props.cash. They had him defaulted at 8.5, but at 7.5, he's covered in 4 out of his last 5 games. He's averaging 7.6 rebounds, slightly more than the 7.5 that he's at today. Looking at some of the rebound numbers for Brooklyn, the opponent, 17th in total rebounds, 25th in offensive rebounds, and 9th in defensive rebounds. So when it comes to rebounds, typically, I like a better or higher number on this defensive rebounds allowed because that's where most of your rebounds are coming from, is from the defensive end. But Philadelphia is quite stingy from the looks of things when it comes to defensive rebounds allowed in the last, or this season rather, in this season. Philadelphia against point guards and shooting guards. How many rebounds are they giving up in the last 7 games? We go down and we find Philly. They're giving up about 5.7 boards. So kind of a tough matchup when it comes to rebounds and point guards. We go to the shooting guard spot. Philadelphia giving up much more rebounds to the shooting guard spot. Much easier time for James Harden if you consider him to be more the shooting guard. Tyrese Maxey to be more the point guard. So 3rd most. Philadelphia giving up the 3rd most. We go over here and we take a look at his projection for rebounds. I got Harden projected for 7.9 boards, more than 7.5, and then we're seeing him at minus 140 odds to go over 7.5 on 3 out of 3 books. You guys taking the over or under on James Harden? Over or under on James Harden's rebounds at 7.5. Definitely has triple-double upside. So, I mean, he could get it done in a number of different ways. We kind of already know that about the beard, James Harden. Let's go take a look at some of these other guys here. We talked to James Harden. What about Klay Thompson at 4.5 rebounds? That's not Klay Thompson. He's at 4 rebounds on PrizePicks. Klay Thompson quietly doing a pretty good job at covering his rebound prop. Let's go see what happens when we bump his line from 4.5 down to 4. So we're looking at the last 10 games at 4.5, 60% hit rate. At 4 rebounds, a 75% hit rate. So he's hit 4 or more rebounds in 6 out of 8 games. 75%, always a pretty strong hit rate number for me. I like seeing that. He's averaging exactly 4 for the season, 4.6 in the last 10, 4.6 in the last 5, and 4 against Denver this season. Looking at those matchups against Denver, when we bump this back down to 4, they played February 16th this season. He had exactly 4 rebounds. So yeah, there's a chance that maybe it pushes, maybe it ends up in a tie situation, but that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right? Looking at Denver's defense, they rank 5th in rebounds allowed, 5th in offensive rebounds allowed, and 7th in defensive rebounds allowed. So they're a pretty tough team when it comes to limiting opposing teams on the glass. We're going to go find the Denver Nuggets and see how many boards they've been giving up to opposing shooting guards. 5.3. 5.3, which if you just look at the ranking, kind of difficult. But you look at the average at 5.3, he needs 4 or more to hit this prop. Not so bad, right? 5.3 versus 4. Anyway, let's go ahead and get you a projection on Klay Thompson. He is projected for 4.9. We bumped that up, call it 5 projected rebounds, really close to 5 projected rebounds. At 4.5, though, the betting public smashing the under, -130, -140 on a lot of these sites here. So for me, I'd probably lean toward the over on Klay Thompson, just knowing that going into it, it might end up in a tie or push, right? Again, not the worst case in the world if that does happen. Kyrie Irving, I was kind of, I didn't know what to do with his assists. Maybe he hits his points. His rebounds are at 4.5. Kyrie Irving at 4.5 rebounds, just a 50% hit rate in his last 10 games. So we pull Kyrie up here at 4.5 boards. You can see what he's been up to in the last 10. More importantly, the last 5 with Kevin Durant around. Last 2 games in particular, just 4 and 3 rebounds. Not the greatest hit rates. Again, he's another one of these guys that's going to be teetering right around 4 to 5 rebounds, which is why they have his line at 4.5. He's not going to go crazy on the glass. I mean, the most he's had in the last 10 games is 7 boards. That's been like a ceiling type of game for Kyrie Irving in terms of the rebounds. So it's probably going to be either he's at like 5 boards or he just doesn't hit. A lot of things are probably going to have to go right for him to hit, though. Against Philadelphia, we don't have any previous games from this season. We go and look at last season. He had just 3 rebounds in 1 game versus Philly last year. So that would be an under. There you go. That would be an under. All right, going down here, looking at some of the defensive metrics for Philly when it comes to rebounds. 20th in total rebounds, 15th in offensive, and 17th in defensive. Again, not all that scary. Matchup-wise, looks pretty decent. Philadelphia, when it comes to rebounds and point guards, last 7 games, Sixers giving up, 5.7. So that's a pretty decent number. You can see where they rank, though, down toward the bottom of the list, meaning difficult matchup. We also look at the shooting guard spot. Philadelphia giving up about 7 rebounds. 3rd most. So kind of decent for shooting guards. Not so good for point guards. Last but not least, projection for Kyrie Irving. Got him projected for 5.2 boards at 4.5 rebounds, though. The public not so optimistic. They are taking the under, -120 and -130. So let's go ahead and skip ahead. We've talked enough about some of these rebound guys. Like I said, a lot of these other ones on the board sitting at 30%, 40%, 50% hit rates. Some of you might want to go Joel Embiid versus Andre Drummond. You can see what Embiid's done here. 8 boards in their last 2 meetings. 17 has been a high for him. 11, 9, 10, and 9. So against Andre Drummond in the rebound department, Embiid has only hit the over 1 time in his career against Andre Drummond, and that was all the way back in 2018. So probably not my most favorite way to play Joel Embiid's props today. I don't know that I'm going to go to his rebounds. Only covered 12 rebounds in 1 game. Otherwise, he's been held to 11, 9, 10, 8. So, don't know if I love that. Unless he gets Andre Drummond in foul trouble, and then he gets to go against Nick Claxton. That could be a much easier matchup, right? All right, so we've talked some points, some assists, some rebounds. Let's look at some PRA, heavy hitters for the PRA. You like that little factoid, Mr. AZ88? Yeah. Not the greatest hit rates for Joel Embiid on the glass. All right, looking at some PRA. Klay Thompson, 24.5 PRA, 60% hit rate, but he's at 25.5 on PrizePicks, so be careful. We got to take a look at this one a little bit closer. None of these guys on the board today, by the way, have like extraordinarily high hit rates when it comes to their PRA. 60% is about the highest it gets for anybody on the board. Now, when we bump Klay up to 25.5 PRA, it gets a lot uglier. Just a 40% hit rate in his last 10 games, averaging 22.6 PRA in his last 5. You can see what he's done. 1 out of 5, 20% hit rate. And then versus the Denver Nuggets this season, he's only played them once. But at 25.5 PRA, he did go under on February 16th against this same Nugget squad. So, yeah, the PRA for Klay Thompson might be an underplay. If you're going to take it any which way, it might end up being an underplay for you. Denver, they rank 12th in points allowed, 5th in rebounds, and 16th in assists. So not the easiest matchup for Klay Thompson. Looking at the shooting guard spot, we're going to go find Denver and see how many points plus rebounds plus assists they're giving up to opposing shooting guards. About 16 points, not very good. 5 rebounds, that's about 21 PRA, and just 2.5 assists, so about 23.5 PRA. So Klay's going to have an above average type of game, an extraordinarily good game against this Denver Nuggets team, and I just don't know that he's got it in him. So are you guys willing to take an under on Klay Thompson at 25.5 PRA? Are you willing to take an under on him? Low hit rates, the matchup's not really there. It's just not looking like one that I would take the over on, that's for sure. All right. Who else we got here for PRA? We got Kyrie Irving at 34.5 on props.cash, 60% hit rate, but he's at 33.5 on PrizePicks. Let's pull Kyrie up here. What's this dude been doing? Well, at 34.5, 6 for 10, but we're going to knock it down to 33.5. Doesn't really change his hit rates at all. He's still sitting at 60%. Looking at the last 5 games, more importantly, he actually has covered 33.5 PRA in 4 out of his 5 games. So he's been doing a much better job here over the last 5. For the season, 36.2. For the last 10, 38.1. And then especially good, like I said, in the last 5 at 43.4 PRA on average. Again, we don't have any previous games from this season against Philadelphia, but last season he did have 49 points plus rebounds plus assists against the Philadelphia 76ers. Way more than enough for an over at just 33.5 today. So that's, take that for what you will. As far as Philadelphia's defense and their rankings, 7th in points allowed, 20th in rebounds allowed, and 6th in assists allowed. So Kyrie's PRA looking pretty decent over the last 5 games. Let's go take a look and see what Philadelphia's been giving up to point guards in the PRA department in the last 7 games. They're giving up about 23 points, about 5 to 6 rebounds, let's call it 29, and then about 5 assists on top of that. So about 34 to 35 PRA. So there's a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of upside in this matchup for Kyrie at the point guard spot. We'll also look at the shooting guard position. Philadelphia's given up about 23 points, about 7 rebounds. That's about 30 PRA, and then about 4 assists on top of that. So like 34, 35 points, rebounds, and assists to shooting guards. So like I said, not the greatest matchup for PRA when it comes to this Philadelphia 76ers team, but doable nonetheless. Taking a look at his PRA, he is projected for 34.9. We'll call it 35. The public is liking the over on DraftKings Sportsbook, minus 120 betting favorite to go over. Who else do we have here? We got Andrew Wiggins at a 60% hit rate for his PRA. We have not talked any Andrew Wiggins today. Let's talk about him now. Wiggins has been kind of quiet. Since the All-Star break, right? I haven't been clicking as many Andrew Wiggins props as I was prior to the All-Star game. I don't know. He's just been kind of flying under the radar for me, but maybe we should be considering him a little bit more. 6 out of 10 in the last 10 games. So look at what he's done since coming back out of the All-Star break. 14 against Portland. Obviously, that's an under. 22, that's an under. But now 4 straight games where he's gone for 23 or more PRA. So he's covered in 4 in a row. Versus Denver this season, he's faced them twice. He covered back in December 28th. He fell very short with just 17 PRA against Denver on February 16th. Looking at the DVP here, Andrew Wiggins, typically more the small forward, I should say. Small forward, Denver giving up about 24 points, about 8.5 rebounds, and about 5 assists. So that's like 37, 38 PRA. So there's definitely some upside for Andrew Wiggins at that small forward spot versus this Denver Nuggets team. Maybe there's a chance he keeps things going, riding that 4-game hit streak. Otherwise, I've got him projected for 25.4 PRA. He's at 22.5 on 2 different sites where the public smashing the over, minus 130. Are you guys going to take the over on Andrew Wiggins? Andrew Wiggins probably could also be considered for fantasy. He's typically pretty good at finding a steal, finding a block. So maybe you consider his fantasy points as well if he does record some of those stocks, as we like to call them, steals and blocks. So worth mentioning that as well. Otherwise, some other guys hitting at 60%. We got Steph Curry, Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle. Let's talk about Maxey because he's another guy who's been performing pretty well with James Harden on board. For the most part, it's been doing a pretty good job. Maybe there's more of the same tonight going up against the Brooklyn Nets. We haven't talked any Tyrese Maxey props that I can remember, so I think this might be a good spot to go ahead and talk Tyrese Maxey here. Last 10 games, more importantly, let's look at the last 5. So he started off really strong with James Harden aboard, 31, 32, and 42 PRA. The last 2 games, though, have not been good in terms of points, in terms of PRA. Things have been down for Tyrese Maxey in the last 2. Maybe he's due for a pop-up game where he comes back to life, a resurrection of sorts. He's averaging 25.6 PRA for the season, 26.9 in the last 10, 29.4 in the last 5. We take a look at what he's done against Brooklyn this season. He's faced them twice. He had 19 back on October 22nd. Long time ago, his role was not what it is now, so we could throw that one out. December 30th, he did have 36 PRA, so that's kind of encouraging news. Brooklyn giving up 22nd most points, 17th in rebounds, and 14th in assists. So the matchup's not a scary one whatsoever for Tyrese Maxey. Taking a look at the Nets, they're giving up about 23 to 24 points, about 4 to 5 rebounds, and about 6 to 7 assists. So plenty of upside here at the shooting guard spot for Tyrese Maxey. Looking at the point guard spot, Brooklyn giving up about 21 points, about 5 rebounds, and about 8 to 9 assists. So that's about 35 to 36 PRA given up. So both point guards and shooting guards, no matter, if you call Tyrese Maxey a point guard or a shooting guard, he's in a pretty decent spot. There is upside versus this Brooklyn backcourt for him to hit his PRA and get back on track tonight. Maxey got him projected for about 27 PRA, which is higher than the 24.5. Seeing a little bit of line movement, a little bit of action here. Minus 120 at 24.5 on the over. 24.5, the public is taking the over. So there's some folks out there who are slapping down their cold, hard cash, their real life money on the over at 24.5. They believe Tyrese Maxey's due for a bounce back game. Do you guys think Tyrese Maxey's due for a bounce back game tonight? Is it Tyrese Maxey resurrection night tonight? Thumbs up if you're going to hit the over on Maxey for PRA. Thumbs down in the chat if you're going to fade this or take the under. But I think Tyrese Maxey could be in a spot for bouncing back. A fade, Fabrizio says fade. Bout It says he's going to take Tyrese Maxey, but he's going to take him for points. C3P says big fade. Man, we've given up on Tyrese Maxey that quickly, huh? After his hot start with James Harden in town, we are off Tyrese Maxey. When do we get back on Tyrese Maxey then? If not tonight, then when? Aaron Rodgers saying, Maxey's in a good spot. Yeet King 100 likes Tyrese Maxey for points. McNasty being nasty, saying no Maxey pad for me tonight. Ooh, you gross. You gross for that. Otherwise, let's move ahead here and talk about some 3-point makes. Not a ton of options. We got, what, two guys from Brooklyn. James Harden almost caught me. 2 guys from Brooklyn, 1 guy from Philly, and 2 Golden State Warriors, the Splash Bros. I would love it if they gave us Andrew Wiggins at 1.5 3-point makes. He's been hitting in 80% of his games. Kyrie Irving at 2.5, 70% hit rate. Going up against Philadelphia tonight. I think I did accurately call Kyrie Irving having a good game from beyond the arc against Charlotte the last time we were able to discuss Brooklyn Nets props. He had 2 underperforming games, and I was like, man, this just seems like a spot where Kyrie's going to get back on track. Now, tonight against Philadelphia, he might have a harder time. Might be a more difficult matchup. So let's take a look at his 3-point field goals over the last 10. For the season, 2.8 per game. 3.3 in the last 10. 3.8 in his last 5. So like I was telling you guys, he went under against Milwaukee, under against Boston. Charlotte, he was a freaking flamethrower. Had 9 triples in that game against the Charlotte Hornets. Killed it. He killed it. Looking at his matchups from Philly last season, or against Philly from last season, 1 game had just 1 3-point make. But again, take that with a grain of salt. That was a long time ago, last season, in fact. So looking at the point guards, we're going to go to the 3-point makes and see how many threes Philadelphia is giving up to point guards. They're giving up a healthy amount, 3.5. That's the 6th most given up to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. So matchups looking pretty nice. We go look at the shooting guard spot. Philadelphia, in terms of shooting guards and 3-point makes allowed, 2.6, which puts them down toward the bottom. More difficult there. Do you think James Harden's going to be guarding Kyrie Irving tonight? Are they going to put Tyrese Maxey on Kyrie Irving? Probably Tyrese Maxey, right? And then they're going to go hide James Harden on somebody like, I don't know, Bruce Brown maybe? Maybe Harden and Brown matchup. Maybe Tybal is on Kevin Durant tonight. And then you get Tyrese Maxey on Kyrie Irving. I don't know. I don't know how things match up or shake out for that. But let's get you a projection. Got Kyrie projected for 2.9 triples, which is more than 2.5. But the public, a little more pessimistic on Kyrie tonight. They are taking the under, minus 130 to go under 2.5. Do you guys agree with those matchups? You think it's going to be Kyrie and Tyrese Maxey matching up? Maybe they hide James Harden on defense over on a guy like Bruce Brown, and then they leave Tybal to guard Kevin Durant. Is that how things are going to match up? What do you guys think? Yes, Fabrizio? Tybal on Kyrie and Tobias Harris on Kevin Durant. Whew. Whew. Tobias Harris is going to have his hands full against KD, if that's the case. Yikes. Tybal on Kyrie and Harris on Durant. Yikes, yikes, yikes. And you guys don't like Kevin Durant's points tonight against Tobias Harris? Ooh, man. All right. I'm just saying. If that's the way it shakes out, man. Tobias Harris, you got your work cut out for you, my friend. Looking at some of these other guys in their 3-point props. Tyrese Maxey not up on the board at 1.5. Again, he's like in the same class as Andrew Wiggins. If we get Tyrese Maxey at 1.5 threes, we should probably be taking the over. Klay Thompson just hasn't looked quite right just yet. Has not looked like the Klay of old. He's at 2.5 3-point makes, 60% hit rate over the last 10 games. Klay Thompson is being bet over right now from the looks of things, but you can kind of see what he's done in the last 3 games, right? He's went for 2, for 1, and for 2 3-point makes. Like, the dude's got to snap out of it at some point, right? Kind of the same approach I took the other day with Kyrie Irving. 2 games in a row where he had went under. It's like one of those questions, how long can this continue? How long can Klay Thompson continue to underperform from beyond the arc? Let's look at what he's done against Denver this season. He played him not that long ago, a few games ago, February 16th, and he had 3 3-point makes. So maybe this is a get-right spot here for Klay Thompson. Maybe this is the time where he finally gets back on track. The betting public, again, they seem to think so. Minus 130 betting favorite. Denver does rank 10th in three-pointers allowed, so tough matchup. 6th in three-point percentage allowed. But let's look more specifically at the shooting guard spot and see how many threes Denver's been giving up to the 2 guards. We got to go all the way down here. They're giving up exactly 2.5, which is where his prop line is today. That is the 5th fewest. 5th fewest. So the matchup not looking sexy here for Klay Thompson. For small forwards, they're giving up about 2.3. Doesn't really get any better for small forwards. So Klay Thompson might be in a tough spot. But then again, you just look at the low hit rates, the streak of 3 bad games over the last 5 here. Like, he's a good shooter. We know that. It's going to have to pop up at some point. Not saying it happens tonight. Don't know what's going to happen tonight. Nobody does. But at some point, he will come back to life. Okay? And if he does tonight, then I'm going to come back here tomorrow and tell you I told you so. He is projected for 3.8 3-point makes at 2.5, as I mentioned. Looks like the public is taking the under right now. Minus 120, according to the DK Sportsbook that I can reference. Rumsey says, Klay Thompson is hitting tonight. The Nuggets like to shoot threes, and it's going to be a high-scoring game. McNasty says that Klay Thompson is due for hitting many threes tonight. Many threes tonight. Interesting. D. Manning saying Klay Thompson under on points. What about Harden threes? He's at 2. We could go take a look at James Harden here for his 3-point makes. 2 could mean a push situation. So we look at the last 5 games for Harden. We got to bump this down to 2 because that's where he's at on PrizePicks. He's hit 2 or more in 4 out of 5 games since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. So, I mean, I would probably lean toward the over. Maybe you tie, maybe you push, but that's okay. Brooklyn's given up the 16th most threes this season, 8th in the 3-point field goal percentage department. Looking at point guards against Brooklyn giving up, 2.8 3-point makes to point guards, so not too terrible. And then they're giving up about 2.6 3-point makes to shooting guards. So there's upside here for Harden. I would lean toward the over. Again, worst case scenario, you end up in a push. But he's hit 2 or more in 4 out of 5, so an 80% hit rate. So I would say lean toward the over on a Harden threes. Moving on from the 3-point makes, let's look at some of these free throw shooters. We've already talked about Joel Embiid and what he's done against Andre Drummond in his career. But for those of you that might have missed it, Joel Embiid has hit 10 or more free throws against Drummond in 1, 2, 3. Just kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 7 career games against Andre Drummond, he's went for 11 or more free throw makes. So maybe you don't like his points as much. Andre Drummond, typically kind of a handsy type of guy. He's been known to get into some foul trouble. I think Joel Embiid will put the pressure on him and get Andre Drummond out of there as quickly as possible. And if that's the case, then it'll be Nick Claxton in the second quarter against Embiid. And we all know what Embiid's done against Nick Claxton. Maybe we don't, but Nick Claxton, he's no match for Joel Embiid tonight. Okay? Taking a look at some of these other free throw guys. Most of these guys are high usage players. Obviously, James Harden, very good at getting to the free throw line, very good at drawing contact. He did not get it done from the free throw line against Chicago. Had just 5. But the previous games, 11, 8, 10, and 8. Very good. I think the 7, probably a bit light. Kevin Durant, you look at his free throw makes, 3 out of 5. Kevin wasn't very aggressive. As you can tell, he only got to the free throw line and made 1 against Charlotte. We need a more aggressive Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant is aggressive, like we talked about for his points, and he's engaged, and he typically does get more engaged against teams that are, we'll call them Eastern Conference rivals, Chicago being 1, 10 free throw makes, Miami, 9 free throw makes, Boston, 9 free throw makes. He gets up for these games. He rises to the occasion, okay? Let me see if I can go back to what I had pulled up here. Kevin Durant versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's go to the free throw makes here. So he played Philadelphia December 30th, 2021, which was this season. He had 4 free throw makes. Back on December 16th of this season, 6 free throw makes. So he's went under in 2 out of his last 2 games. October 22nd, he did have 10 free throw makes. So this season, he's 1 out of 3 at covering 6.5 free throws made against this Philadelphia 76ers squad. So there you go. Jokic, another high usage guy at 5 free throw makes. He played Golden State on March 7th. Kevon Looney, another one of those guys who finds himself getting into foul trouble. Jokic will likely put the pressure on Kevon Looney. Looney will probably foul Jokic a few times. He had 8 free throw makes against Golden State just 3 days ago, March 7th. He's hit the over on 5 free throw makes in 3 straight games. 11 against New Orleans, 8 against Golden State, and 8 against Sacramento. So, Nikola Jokic. Let's take a look at this. Nikola Jokic, FTM versus Kevon Looney. Oh, we got to include the... No. We got it. Free throw makes. Let's see. He's had 2. Well, that ain't right. Hold on. Oh, it's out of order. That's what it is. So we got to go down at the bottom here. Maybe if I include the word logs, it'll... There we go. That's better. All right, so against Kevon Looney, guys. 8, 6, 6, 5, 6, 7 free throw makes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. He's hit for 5 or more free throw makes against Kevon Looney in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 10. 5 or more against Kevon Looney, 9 out of 10. What y'all think? 9 out of his last 10 at 5 or more against Looney. Taking the over on Nikola Jokic at 5 free throw makes. We'll keep that between us. You don't have to tell me what you're going to do. I already know. What the deal is, okay? Let's talk about some blocks and some steals. Who's been hitting their blocks and steals at a high hit rate? Well, Kyrie Irving. He's been getting on them blocks and steals at a 70% hit rate. Kevin Durant also getting on those blocks and steals at a 70% hit rate. Let's pull them up here using props.cash. We'll start with Kevin Durant. Over the last 10 games, Kevin Durant, 2.4 blocks and steals on average, 1.6 in the last 5. So that number's starting to slide, starting to fall off a little bit. You can see what he's done against Philadelphia this season. Has only covered in 1 out of 3 games. Not the highest hit rate for him. We're going to go over here and take a look at how many blocks and steals Philadelphia gives up to both small forwards and power forwards. Philly giving up 1.8 steals. That's a pretty healthy number. 0.72 blocks to small forwards. So that is over 1.5 blocks and steals. So that's decent. Power forwards, Philadelphia is giving up about 1.13 steals and about a half of a block. So not the greatest matchup for Kevin Durant. Let's look at Kyrie Irving as well. Kyrie, as we mentioned, has that same hit rate as Kevin Durant, 70%. So we'll go to the point guard position, go look at Philadelphia. They're giving up about 1.3 steals and about 0.4 blocks to point guards. Decent. Go to the shooting guard spot. Philadelphia again giving up just 0.16 steals to shooting guards and just 0.16 blocks. So not good if you're a shooting guard. But Kyrie, more the point guard. So maybe you go there. Otherwise, I don't know any of these other guys hitting at a high hit rate. Steph Curry at 1.5 steals and blocks, just a 30% hit rate. Maybe you take the under on him. James Harden at 1.5 blocks and steals, just a 20% hit rate. So maybe you take an under on him. We could look at Harden real quick. Last 5 games. Yeah. He had one game against the Knicks where he had 5 steals and blocks. He has went under 1.5 in 4 out of 5, so just a 20% hit rate. Not great. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. We've really went in depth on this slate. An hour and 35 minutes, 2 games. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions on any of these props? Maybe something that we didn't get a chance to talk about or cover? Let me know now. Again, we're doing a giveaway. If we hit 5,400 subscribers today and 200 likes, I'm giving away 3 free entries in my Discord to win $100 on PrizePicks. Okay? So we got to hit the like button. We got to get to 200 likes. That's goal number 1. And we have to get to 5,400 subscribers today. And by the looks of things, we're not that far off. It's definitely doable. I think starting off the show today, we needed like 15 subs to hit 5,400. So share this with a friend. Let somebody know about my channel. Let's get it to 5,400 today and also have them like on top of subscribing. Oh, did we hit? Rumsey, are you saying that we hit? Are you breaking news? Doo-doo-doo. Did we hit 5,400 subscribers? That would be big, man. That would be big. That would be something special. All right, you guys are starting to hit me with some of your favorite props and picks. Let's take a look at those. Moody Clips. There are no locks, man. Come on. There's no locks. We thought Kevin Durant at 25.5 freaking points the other night as a taco was a lock. Some of us. And look what happened. Didn't come through. Yeah, didn't happen. I'm going to do a fun little entry here. Let's go double free throw makes, right? Let's go these 2 guys. We'll power it and we'll throw like, I don't know, $25 on it. I like that number. Boom. Yeah, I like that. Little 2-pick free throw make only entry. 2 of the best bigs in the league, Jokic and Embiid, over free throw makes. I think Drummond gets into foul trouble against Embiid. He's had a pretty high hit rate. I already showed you what Jokic has been up to against Kevon Looney. 9 out of his last 10 at 5 free throw makes or more. He's hit his free throw prop in 3 straight games. So we'll see what happens with that one. That'll be a fun one. If you guys want to tail, go ahead and tail. If you don't, if you feel some other type of way, maybe you don't like Embiid over free throws or you don't like Jokic over free throws, that's okay. You can fade too. All right, let's talk about some of these props that you guys have left in here. Appreciate you guys just smashing the hell out of that like button, man. Big numbers on those likes, but I think we could go more. We got to get 200. If you want those 3 free picks to win $100 that I'll be giving away in Discord, link to the Discord is down in the description below. We got to get that 200 likes today. Hunter, you're asking where do the Nets rank on foul trouble? I don't care. I think Andre Drummond is a big foul machine, and I think Joel Embiid's going to put the work on him. So that's why I'm taking the over on Embiid's free throw makes. Adrian, did you do Bruce Brown fantasy? I did not. I don't think we've talked any fantasy points. But are you liking my man, Brucey Brown? Bruce Brown, last 5 games, has covered his fantasy points in 5 straight. 5 straight. When it comes to fantasy points allowed, we'll look at the small forward and power forward spot. Philadelphia, got to consider this matchup here. Oh, where are they? Where are they? Oh, they're at the top. Giving up 45.8 fantasy points to small forwards. We'll also look at the power forward spot. Philadelphia's given up over 40 fantasy points to power forwards. So pretty decent matchup for a guy who needs just 24 fantasy points. I can get you a projection. I got Bruce Brown projected for about 24.95. Let's call it 25 fantasy points. So if you wanted to go Bruce Brown, he is projected to go over according to Fantasy Labs. Drummond under. My man George wanting to go under on Andre Drummond's fantasy points. He's at 28 last 5 games for him. He's got 2 monster games, 2 bookends in the last 5 games, 45.9 and 47.8. But in between the buns, we got some bad burgers. 13.2, 11.1, and 15.9. What you can do too here with StatMuse is kind of cool. You can go Andre Drummond FanDuel points versus Joel Embiid logs. You can kind of see what Andre Drummond's done against Joel Embiid over the course of his career. He's covered 28 fantasy points in every game but one. But of course, his role on this Brooklyn Nets team, not the same. Not the role that he had in a lot of these games where he was a member of the Detroit Pistons. Had a lot bigger role back then. He was a fantasy monster. Used to play him a lot on DraftKings and FanDuel. So anyway, that Andre Drummond is a different Andre Drummond than the Andre Drummond we will see tonight. Bit different role. He won't be scoring 27, 21 points. At least I don't think so. This is very much Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant's team, right? So don't get too scared about how well he's done against Embiid. Let's pull up a projection on Drummond. I've got him projected for 32.4 fantasy points. That's a lot of fantasy points. How many are Philadelphia giving up per game? Let's go take a look at that. The second fewest allowed at 43.8. I don't know. I'm not going to play the under on Andre Drummond at 28 fantasy points, but I can see why you would. Isaac M says, can we check out Matisse Thybulle's game logs with Danny Green out? Well, yes, we can. I think probably the best or easiest way to do that is by using props.cash. So if we type in Thybulle, click on his name, we go to the season. We're looking at points. I don't know what game logs or what prop you want to look at specifically, but Thybulle points for the season. And then you go here, games without, and you click Danny Green. And you see that he's hit at a 70% hit rate at 5.5 points without Daniel Green in the lineup. 70% hit rate. So that's 7 out of 10 games this season for points without Danny Green in the lineup. So pretty good hit rate. You can even take this a step further if you wanted to and look at the splits. His home splits, 3 out of 4. They're playing at home tonight, so a 75% hit rate. You could also look at the away splits. A bit worse, 67%, but bigger sample size. So he does have a higher hit rate at home than he does on the road. So I think Matisse Thybulle at 5.5 points. We talked about him earlier. He was one of the first players we talked about for points props. But yeah, without Danny Green this season, at home, 3 for 4 at covering 5.5 points. Yeah, I mean, we talked about Harden's free throws. I think they're pretty low at 7. We quickly talked about him. He did not cover against Chicago, obviously, but the previous games, 8, 10, 8, and 11, like Harden knows how to get to the free throw line. It's kind of hard to talk about James Harden's free throws in depth because he's so new to this team. We haven't really seen him, a whole lot. Like, there's just not a lot to talk about. I mean, he was on the Nets. He's now not on the Nets. We know James Harden gets to the free throw line a lot, though. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's in play. Patrick Brown's asking about some Andrew Wiggins at 4.5 rebounds. We talked a little bit about Andrew Wiggins for a PRA play. He's gone 4 for 4 at covering his PRA. His rebounds are at 4.5. Let's take a look at Wiggins. .5 rebounds, just a 47% hit rate for the season, 60% hit rate in the last 10, and in the last 5 games, a 40% hit rate. So you're wanting to take the over on Andrew Wiggins' rebounds, Patrick? It looks like the over. He's faced Denver twice this season. He's covered in one game, went under on the other. Yeah, I think his PRA has been hitting a lot better than his rebounds as of late. Let's just look at the last 5 games. PRA, 60% on the PRA, 40% on the rebounds for Wiggins. So, projection-wise, I do have him projected for 4.7. Looks like the public likes him to go over 4.5 rebounds tonight as well. But I think they also had him as a favorite to go over PRA as well. So, yeah, PRA, rebounds, I think both in play for Wiggins. Yeet King says, fade Wiggins. Eric Anthony says, Wiggins is a 20% hit rate on points with Clay in. Smash an under for once, CJ. No, we talked about some unders. I think Klay Thompson's PRA was one of the unders we mentioned. Rumsey says, what is your favorite game to watch today? Both of them. That's one word. Both of them. BOFFUM. Both of them. Fabricio's asking about Matisse PRA, please. Matisse Thybulle's PRA, we talked about his points. I think his points looked really good. I don't have Thybulle up here on the PrizePicks board for PRA. Am I tripping? No, he ain't up here. But we could talk about him if you want. Let's go back to, not Tyrese Maxey. Thybulle. PRA. We can remove Danny Green. Boom. No, that ain't right. That can't be right. Well, maybe it is right. But he's not up on the board. So he's 4 for 5 on PRA without Danny Green. Man, 9.5 PRA just seems ridiculous for this guy. Maybe we'll get him on the PrizePicks board. Maybe not. But yeah, he's covered in 80% of his games without Danny Green at just 9.5 PRA. I'm not sure what his PRA is at. But at home games, he is 4 for 4 covering his PRA without Danny Green this season. So there you go. Yeah, the only issue, Isaac, I think, with Drummond is if he gets a little too handsy with Embiid. You know, if he starts slapping Embiid around, then, yeah, I could see it being a situation where he fouls out, possibly, or gets into foul trouble in the first half. They changed Bruce Brown's fantasy already. Guessing they went up on Brucey Brown. Yeah, 25 fantasy points. Jokic PRA. Oh, Jokic. Oh, Nikola Jokic. I don't have anything up on PropStat Cash for Jokic PRA. I'll just get you a projection, though. How about that? Is that fair? Dang, he's not even up for... They don't have anything up for Jokic right now. Let's see. Let me refresh here. There we go. He's projected for 49.4 PRA. Looks like his line is at 50.5. Yep, 50.5. So looks like a slight under for Jokic on his PRA. The Durant taco was a curse. Everybody jumped on it too fast. I hear you, man. I hear you. You guys liking some Curry free throws? Curry free throws? 4? Maybe. Ooh, maybe not. You want to go over? Ooh, that's been ugly, man. Nah, I ain't going there. Bump that. You saw my free throw plays. This guy right here, 9 for 10 against Looney. This guy right here, pretty good hit rates against Drummond, whatever they were, 4 for 7. Those are my free throw plays. And Harden. Harden, honorable mention. CJ's longest streams are for the shortest slates. What a guy. Yeah, how does that end up happening, huh? Kyle, you're liking some Monty Morris over first half fantasy points? Let's take a peek. Well, dang, they ain't got any nuggets up on the board. But what you can do is this. Man, they're out there mowing the grass. I'm here trying to do my live stream. Monty Morris, first half FanDuel points logs. You can kind of see, I don't know what his number is going to be. It's not up on the board yet, but maybe when they post him up to the board. If he's at like 12.5, 13.5, he's hit that in 3 straight games. And then you could even do without Will Barton. Take it a step further. And things get nice and juicy. Nice and juicy for Monty Morris. First half fantasy points without Will Barton. Especially over the last like 10 games or so. So, whenever, if they ever, go ahead and put him up on the board, then maybe you consider him. Do they have Monty Morris up for points? They do. Well, they have him up at 6.5 points, so you can also look at his points as well. You can go Monty Morris first half points logs without Will Barton. He's covered in 1, 2, 3, 4. Missed it here. 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 9. 8 out of his last 9 at covering 6.5 first half points without Will Barton. So, there's your Monty Morris play, Mr. George. Monty Morris over first half points at 6.5 without Will Barton. If Will Barton's out. I think he's questionable, or maybe he's in or out, not quite sure. But yeah, that could be the move. That could be the move. You're like Christian 210 is liking Seth Curry under points, rebounds, and assists. Yeah, Seth Curry over the last like 3 games since Kevin Durant's been around ain't been getting it done, gang. Not been getting it done. Let's look at Seth. His PRA is at 16.5 today. Let's bump this down then. 16.5, last 10 games. Huh, is that line right? 16.5 for him today? Let me pull that up on another site here. Yep, 16.5. Okay, well, he's projected for 21.2 PRA. 16.5 just seems super duper low. He's actually got a pretty decent hit rate on his PRA over the last like 5 games. I don't know why it keeps defaulting to 22.5, but 16.5, he's actually 80%. So that, you know, if you're looking for an over on Seth Curry, that low key might be a decent over for him. But yeah, I don't know if I trust Seth Curry with Kyrie, KD, and all that. George, what did you think about that Monty Morris over first half points at 6.5 without Will Barton active? Yeah, I mean, Embiid very well could push with 10. He might. He just might. But I'm going to take a shot and see what happens, man. Embiid's going to put that pressure on him. Reminds me of like some of these UFC fighters. There's certain UFC fighters that are like high pressure fighters. A guy like Colby Covington who just keeps coming, keeps going in your face. Ooh, pause. But you know what I mean. Colby Covington, high pressure fighter. He keeps coming and he keeps going in your face. Anyway, that's Joel Embiid on the basketball court, putting the pressure on defenses and opposing big men. Man, that got disgusting real quick. George, you're asking about Curry 3-point makes. Which Curry? The only Curry on the board? Steph, I'm assuming? 3.5? Man, that is criminally low, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty low. Steph Curry, 3.5 3-point makes. Dang, that is it's one to think about. Wow, he has not gone over 3.5 threes in 4 straight games. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? The last time he faced Denver, he only had 1 3-point make, but he did have 5 against Denver back on December 28th. So yeah, if you wanted to take a shot on Steph Curry, like this has to end at some point, right? Maybe it's tonight. 4 straight games of under 3.5 3-point makes, man. That's that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. What's wrong with this guy this season? That's what I want to know. Denver is giving up over 4 3-point makes to point guards in the last 7 games. That's the first most. The first most. So the matchup is right. I mean, it's about as good of a matchup as you can ask for the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. 5.3 projected 3-point makes, and he is a big betting favorite at minus 140 odds to go over 3.5. So there you go. Rumsey said Embiid is Drummond's daddy. That's his daddy. Moody says Embiid easy over for free throws. Yeah, I hope he puts Andre Drummond in foul trouble jail tonight. Seth Curry might shoot more when Aldridge is out. Whew, I don't know if we have enough of a sample size to really make that call or not, but maybe. Yeah, again, gang, in case you missed it, giving away 3 free entries to win $100 in Discord tomorrow, if and only if we hit 5,400 subscribers today, and if we hit 200 likes on today's live stream. And we're reaching the 2-hour mark, so I think we've covered damn near every prop on the board that we can possibly cover. I'm going to get out of here. My tummy's grumbling. It's time for lunch. It's time for me to go get something to eat, man. It is, it's overtime over here, man. So I'm going to be getting up out of here. Moody Clips, of course I'll be going live tomorrow, man. Of course I'll be going live tomorrow to help the boys. Y'all share this live stream. Y'all make sure that your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, your cousin, your friend down the road hits the like button on this. If we hit 200, man, I'm giving away 3 free entries tomorrow for $100 a piece. But that's it, man. I'm getting up out of here. You guys, good luck tonight. Enjoy these 2 games. They're going to be fun. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'm out of here. Peace.